Okay, folks. Hello again. This is Raymundo. This is the third video. We've talked over the basics of trust. We've talked about the private express trust. Now, we need to make sure we know what it takes to execute the trust. What does it take to get your trust created? All right. And so before you execute the trust, you just got to know a few things. You got to have a few things lined up. Not a ton, but they're important. You got to do them. I can't do them for you. You know, even if you contract with me to have me draft your trust for you, I can't go sign anything for you. I can't get anything signed for you. You, your grantor, your successor trustee have to get together and actually meet and execute documents. The good news is it's not a long-term thing. Once you get the trust created, that's where the meeting and the signing takes place. But after that, when you buy stuff and bill a sale, you don't need to get things notarized all the time. So, all right. Okay, before you execute a trust, you're going to need a grantor. Someone's going to have to be the grantor for this, help you execute this deal, help you create it. Again, they don't have to know anything. They don't have to be part of it after the fact. I will tell you, though, people get queasy. They don't. You might have a really good friend that you think is going to be all about this. It'll do it. They might not. This is a different world. It really is a different world, and not a lot of people can see it. You're a unique one, for sure. But that's okay. You know, it doesn't take any special skill, so you can find anybody willing to do it. You'll be good. So the documents have to be dated, and you've got to execute them on that date. Okay, so being able to plan a date when you and your grantor can get together and go to a notary or get lawful witnesses and do this can be more challenging than it sounds. And again, I can't do it for you. You're going to have to give me a date to execute on, put on the document, and then when I send it to you, then you're going to take it and go get it signed. But again, all this stuff they're all templates. You can write all this stuff you want. So if you're doing a DIY trust, you just got to make sure you're coordinated when it comes to time to execute the trust. Okay, you got to have the drafted document, obviously. Either you're going to do it or somebody else is going to do it. And then you also have to have the appointment for who the trustee is going to be. That first trustee is going to be the executive trustee. So that's another thing. And you're also going to have an oath of office for that trustee to swear an oath to perform their duty. That's really the main thing there, to have all that stuff lined up and ready to go. Okay, so there's 3 documents you're going to execute when you execute your trust. It's this trust constitution, an appointment. Again, you can't just write a document and say it's it. Okay, these have offices and specific people that have to hold these roles. So whether it's a trustee in the future or this trustee now, they have to be specifically appointed in a meeting, in meeting minutes. And that individual has to accept the appointment and agree to it. And then later, when it's time for them to hold office, they have to sign the oath of office. So this is what the trust constitution looks like, the template, just so you have an idea when you see it. There's a cover sheet, a table of contents. This is kind of the trust purpose, the beginning of the trust, and then the right side here, it's the last page. This is what the declaration of trust looks like, okay? Okay, the appointment of the executive trustee. Like I just said, when you add trustees, you're going to have to appoint them in a meeting. They're going to have to accept the appointment, and then they're going to have to sign up an oath of office. Doesn't matter if you got 1 trustee or you got 8. Every trustee, you got to do the same thing. But, the other stuff, when you're operating a trust, you're, like I said, buying and selling, it's all internal. So the grantor must specifically select the executive trustee first, and that is recognized in the appointment. The grantor must sign that they appointed the executive trustee, and the executive trustee must agree and accept the appointment. And I guess for repetitive purposes, I said the grantor and executive trustee must sign the appointment. This is what it looks like, okay? I'm just really saying, look, the grantor of this express trust organization does hereby freely designate and appoint the executive trustee so-and-so. Oath of office. Even though the trust accepts the appointment to selection or the selection to be the trustee, he or she still needs to swear an oath. Again, everything the trust does is documented. Okay, so this is what the oath looks like. Real simple. I solemnly swear as a divine creation of God that I will faithfully execute the office of trustee of this trust and will do to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the trust constitution and bylaws of the trust. That's an oath, folks. That's why, and these oaths are only valid or usable or worthwhile in a trust. Specifically a private express trust where it's actually people. Those actors that you know of, the judges out there that have oaths of office. An oath of office doesn't mean lickety if you're an employee. You're employed. You're going to do what you're told by your employer. That's why your relationship is. You're there just for them to tell you what to do because you have certain skills. There's no obligation to the rules or the people. You're an employee. So if you have both, one of them's fake. All right, selecting a beneficiary. This is another challenging thing for a lot of folks. The beneficiary just has to be named. They have to be living. You have to have their address. They need to be an adult, and they just need to be listed in the Constitution, in the document. They don't have to do anything. Why you pick them, it doesn't even really matter. But it's important to realize that the beneficiary does not get anything from the trust, from the private express trust, unless the trustee allows it or the trust collapses. So, it would be wise to make sure that your trust really doesn't have any intention of collapsing. Because when the property is transferred to the beneficiary, when it closes, that could trigger a taxable event. Property is moving hands. Is it taxable? I don't really think so. But there's a lot of people that are going to think it is, and they're going to ensnare you and mess with you and try to get your money. So the solution to that is the successor trustee. Your beneficiary in your mind and your heart, who you want to kind of have your stuff when you're no longer around, consider them as a successor trustee, which means they will need to know some more stuff. But in that situation, as trustee, should you pass away, and all your property and stuff is in that trust, well, the successor trustee just fills your shoes. They just take over. There's no transfer of title. It's still titled by the trust. And so all that nightmare of probate and whatnot can be totally avoided with the properly selected successor trustee. Yeah, the beneficiary has to be living, but the successor trustee is the party to take over the same office upon the death. Okay, more trust information. Executing the trust is a unique venture, but adding trustees is not. I think I already covered this. The documents executed in addition to the Constitution are documents needed every time a trustee is added. Okay? You're going to add a trustee now or later. You got to appoint them. They got to accept it. And they got to be willing to sign an oath of office. All right. More tips for successful trust execution. Make sure your grantor's on board, okay? Someone's going to say yes, they're up for it. You get going, putting all this stuff together. This is from experience. And you put their names down and you get all that paperwork going, and then it comes time to sign that document, and all of a sudden they don't feel like they want to do it. Make sure they're on the same page, and they're going to, they don't have any types of concerns. Yes. Select people that are available and preferably close in proximity. Online notary is possible, but it does create a few more steps. Not everybody's living next to their homies. Not everybody's close to their people that they really trust. So try to get people that can, that are around you. It's just going to be easier, especially in the execution. You can do it online for sure. And note, for some of this stuff, once you get it created, you can change it all for the most part. I mean, you can't change the Constitution, but who's who? Who's your successor trustee? You can get a successor trustee just to get this thing going, get that bank account open. Someone's maybe is your neighbor, whatnot. Maybe you don't want them to be your successor trustee down the road. Change it out later. Okay. You're allowed to have as many trustees as you want. You're allowed to create the trust with numerous trustees. But it's more work, especially with the banking and getting people together for signing stuff. It's just more people. So again, you can add that trustee that would normally be there, a week later, a few days later. And you just have less. Because the thing is, if you have trustees on the trust and you go open a bank account, they're going to want all the trustees on the account. Some banks may not need that, but most of them do. Okay, so get your account set up for you. Add trustees later and reduce capacities. Yeah, don't stress too bad on this. I know it's totally new and you've never done anything like this before. It's a little scary going to a bank, opening an account for something you just made in your own office. Can be stressful. But even if you totally screw something up, man, it's equity. There is no punishment here unless you're harming people. You screw up, you make a mistake, you just fix it as soon as you can. And if it causes harm or inconvenience to somebody else, you just fix it. Okay? And that's the thing about civil law is like we got to follow these rules, and if you don't do it right the first time, you're going to get punished later. That's not the case. Okay? This is peaceful. We're on the land here. Okay? Land's not going anywhere. Okay, once you get your trust created and you got it in paper, all right, be mindful about what you're going to do with it. You're going to want to save it. You want to put it in a safe, maybe even a safety deposit box somewhere. But, get copies so you have something to use. Get a folder, a binder to put all your paperwork in there. The trust constitution comes with a table of contents and some schedules that go with the trust that just kind of support it. I got a binder I keep all my stuff in, but I also have an online folder where scans of all these and the originals of all these are located. And so anytime I got to go write something and create something, I just go to my templates in my folder and create the document, and if I print it and get it executed as like a bill of sale for purchase or something, I just execute it, make photocopies, scan them, just keep paper records. It's definitely probably the more cumbersome part of being a trustee, but when you compare that to getting your clock cleaned in the courts, it's well worth it. Okay, yeah, keep a trust in a safe. If it gets destroyed, it gets destroyed. You have to redo it. Okay, and again, with that being said, you go through this process of getting these stuff executed. You got grantors, you got successor trustees, even the banking account going. Nothing's gonna happen. Okay, there is no risk. Your trust isn't out there. It's just really in your desk. But once you have a bank account, once you're titled in the public, then things could happen. They could come messing with you if they don't think you're competent. Or more than likely, you'll start to see that they're going to leave you alone in little ways. You may not get as much mail as you used to because they really do prey upon the person. All right, your person, your birth certificate person, whatever you want to call it, it is a slave. It's the bottom of the whole structure, and they can do whatever they want to your person. And since you've never known anything else, they get away with it. But here we are. Private Express Trust. So, okay. Rough and dirty, that's the bare stuff about the trust. We learned what trust is, why a private express trust is, what it really takes to get one created. All right, so up to here, you can get a trust created. Everything from here on out is going to be what you can do with the trust. And I do request and ask that you guys not focus on these next videos until after you do your trust. Obviously, I can't prevent everything, but try not to study this stuff too hard before you can create your trust, because there is so much you can do. Lots and lots of options, and you could spend years studying what you can do before you ever get one started. And there isn't anything that's going to keep you from doing what you want to do by missing something in writing up the trust. So there you go. Good luck. Hope to see you guys on some Zooms. Have a great day.